What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So I'm back with my segment, What's Next? I want to talk about Manny Pacquiao, what's next for him in the future. It's mind-boggling to me to see how naive some of you guys are or choose to be. Some of you guys, I don't think you're really that naive. I think you just choose because you're fanatical fans. Manny Pacquiao is a good fighter. He just beat an undefeated fighter who is in his prime, who shows he can battle back from adversity. Timothy Bradley did show that in the Ruslan fight. He showed he can fight a thinking man's fight against a veteran. He showed that in Marquez. So it's a very good win for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, to me, looked good in spots. He didn't look good. It wasn't dominating performances like he's put on the past. I get on here and I give you my real unadulterated thoughts. Manny Pacquiao is a great fighter who has done legendary things for boxing. You can just look at some of his classic fights. His highlight reel is perhaps some of the most impressive in this generation. However, some of you guys can't be objective and know when to fold and know when to be realistic and objective. Aside from Pacquiao and all of his feats and accomplishments in the sport, I think he's definitely slowing down. Some of you guys, for whatever reason, bring up Floyd Mayweather, but the difference is based on their styles. Floyd Mayweather fights in a style where, yes, you could say Floyd Mayweather doesn't have the same pop that he had in the lower weight division. He's not stopping as many. But both Pacquiao and Mayweather are both in the welterweight division based on skill. I don't think they're natural welterweights. I don't think they're bigger than really any of the opponents that they face. So they're fighting guys that are bigger based on their skill level and their experience. So I don't know. Every time I feel like some of the fans are like tit for tat. Like if you say something constructive criticism about Pacquiao, they bring up Mayweather. Mayweather has nothing to do with it. And again, I think it's Mayweather's style and having the smarts and defense that allow for his style to continue boxing at a later age. Whereas Pacquiao is kind of in your face, that aggressiveness, and is going to be a shorter lifespan in the sport. Like if you look at guys who could still hang around, like James Toney could still fight because he does have a defense. I'm not saying he's the world beater that he once was or whatever. Bernard Hopkins, another intelligent fighter. Fighters like that, Juan Manuel Marquez, Sergio Martinez. Marquez is like 42, 41. Martinez is up there in age too. And and actually Martinez is a little bit kind of, he's like an in-betweener. He's a guy that relies on athleticism too. But if you look at Marquez, he's a technical guy. And those styles, they're better suited for longevity in the sport. But some of you guys don't want to admit that. And again, you throw up all these smoke signals and try to misguide and lead people in other directions and stuff. But the fact of the matter is Pacquiao is slowing down. With that being said, I still think based on Pacquiao and his skill, he could beat guys. Like Marquez 5, he could beat Marquez, but he can also lose badly. So that will be an interesting fight to see what happens. I think they're pushing to make that. Hopefully Marquez gets past Alvarado. I don't really give Alvarado a shot to beat Pacquiao. He could beat Marquez possibly based on him being a bigger guy. But I really, really don't see Mike Alvarado, never have pictured Mike Alvarado beating a guy like Manny Pacquiao. Because to beat Pacquiao, you have to possess certain intangibles. And I don't think Alvarado has the footwork, the brains. He's the type of fighter that can box, started boxing late. He could box, he could brawl. However, you don't want to brawl with Pacquiao. He's been fighting at 140. He's going to be fighting Marquez at a catch weight of 144. And I don't think he's ready to go up and beat Pacquiao. Unless I seen something fucking incredible in the Alvarado. Like if he knocked out Marquez in the first round, I'd be like, okay, he deserves the Pacquiao shot. But I really don't even see it coming to that. I see Marquez beating Alvarado and maybe be competitive earlier on and it be bad later for Alvarado. But yeah, I just don't see Alvarado. So I think they're leaning towards Bradley rematch part 3 or rematch with Marquez. Marquez to me is if you're going to do a rematch and we have to deal with the recycle match. I'd rather see the Marquez fight just because we know thus far there's never been a boring fight between the two. And not saying that Bradley and Pacquiao was boring, because it wasn't boring, but they have a longer history, a deeper rooted history. And last time they met, Marquez knocked him out. So to me, for a suspense level, I'd rather see that next if we're going to see that. Truthfully, I would like to see a Ruslan fight or a fight with Pacquiao and Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman's a little bit unlikely based on Keith Thurman being over with Golden Boy. But I would love to see that. I see flaws in Keith Thurman, but he's a good boxer and he has devastating power and he's young. So I'd be interested to see a fight with Pacquiao, someone who's going to come in and try to overwhelm him and has way more experience than Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman has punching power. He showed the ability to adapt, so I would really love to see that fight. I would want to see how his chin holds up against a veteran like Pacquiao. And sometimes he backs up straight. He backs straight up, which is bad, especially if you got a guy with angles and power and pop and a southpaw like Pacquiao. That's how Soto Caras caught Keith Thurman. So I would want to see a fight like that. Ruslan fight would be good. I don't know how likely it would be based on the fact that they had the same trainer. And Ruslan, although he's a cult favorite, doesn't look like Top Rank's really eager to get him in big fights. Otherwise, they would have chose Brandon Rios or a bigger name fight for him. So, I think they might actually make a Ruslan Bradley Part 2 at some point. As far as Pacquiao, I don't know. Like I said, his options are very limited with Top Rank. If you're just looking at Top Rank fighters, I don't want to see him fight Jesse Vargas. So I think it'll be the Alvarado Marquez winner, or it will be a Timothy Bradley Part 3. So if I had to choose, I would pick Marquez 5 based on how the last 4 fights have looked very close, very competitive, and the fact that Marquez knocked him out and wants that 5th title. Pacquiao now has the title because he got it back from Bradley. So that's what I would want from Pacquiao. Like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about Pacquiao. He did what he had to do. I just don't see him being the same fighter. And whether you guys agree with me or not, I posed a question which nobody who disliked the video or nobody who hated based on their comments what I was saying, nobody's been able to respond to. And again, if you think Pacquiao is still the man and he still looks the same like he did in his younger years, then please tell me, out of his last 5 fights, which of those 5 have you said his performances look better than his performance against David Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Josh Clottey? Like, name the performance. Marco Antonio Barrera. Name a performance in his last 5 fights that he's looked better than he did in any of those fights that I just mentioned. And you won't find that. Because he was either like putting dudes away and stopping them, or he was just like really battering them. And he, for the most part, he battered Brandon Rios. I think he dominated. I didn't give Rios any rounds, but it still didn't look like the same ferocious Pacquiao. It really didn't. And I think he was fighting a more calculated fight because he was coming off a knockout, so he had that in the back of his mind. But the thing with Pacquiao, I think his style is more conducive if he is wild, if he doesn't think. But having the thinking Pacquiao, again, he could still do it. He could still put away with a win in the bank by going through the cards just based off athleticism. And he has power and he's a southpaw. But it doesn't look like the same Pacquiao because he seems like there's still doubt in his mind. There's still a reservation. And I can't see how anyone would call Timothy Bradley versus Pacquiao Part 2 a domination on Pacquiao's part. It just wasn't. And Pacquiao fought good competition. I take nothing away from him. But a guy with little punching power, a guy who puts his hands down like Roy Jones Jr. or Sergio Martinez and is laying on the ropes and he's missing all of your shot, or you know what I mean, he's missing a succession of shots. That's not typical Pacquiao. Like, what year would it be? Let's say 2003. If you fought Pacquiao in 2003, 2004, and the motherfucker put his hands down to his waist and was trying to slip your shots, that would be suicide. That would be like career suicide. You were asking for trouble, without a doubt about it. If you put your hands to your side, you're asking to get knocked out possibly stopped by the corner or by the ref or by somebody. But Bradley did it. And Bradley doesn't have as much power as some of the other people in his respective divisions that Pacquiao was facing. Like I would say when he fought Cotto, minus the catchweight thing, but Cotto is a more forceful puncher. And he was really running through Cotto. But you have Bradley laying on the ropes and he's like putting his hand down trying to showboat. And don't get me wrong, Bradley wasn't winning. He wasn't winning the rounds by doing that because he wasn't throwing. But just the mere fact that he did that and that he was attempting to toy with Pacquiao by putting his hands down, I don't see how you can even consider this being the same Pacquiao. Because again, if anybody were to do that in 2003, 2005, that's when people showboat like that, they're doing it to embarrass you. They're doing it to disrespect you. Sometimes people do showboating when they get hurt and just trying to act like it didn't hurt them. Roy Jones Jr. versus Vinny Pazienza, he was doing that. Pazienza was getting tagged and he was just trying to act like Roy Jones and trying to do the showboating thing. But in this case, he was actually slipping punches. So Pacquiao's speed has declined and possibly it looks like his power because, again, if you were to do that before, that would have been a wrap for you and probably that fight. So let me know what you guys think. What's next for Manny Pacquiao? Still a good fighter. Like I said, he still will beat a good level of competition. That just shows you how high up he was because even a declined version of Pacquiao is still dangerous, is still capable of pulling off a win. I just don't see him being the same ferocious Pacquiao. So let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.